bear with me one second. So let's see. So we're not going to have a call to order yet and a roll call until we have a quorum. At this point, we can just move forward with some of the informally with some of the reports. So I guess we'll start with item 6, which is the financial management report.
Yes.
Okay. Byron, are you going to give?
You're on mute, Byron.
Hey, sorry about that. Had the mute on. Is it the management report or the market?
This
Well,
says
both
financial
sections.
management. I say the first one's the market report and then the financial status reports with the
Yep.
says. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, thanks Wade and committee members. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'll cover the market report and then the financial status report. So in terms of the market, we're continuing to see a lot of volatility and uncertainty that surround the overall markets, and they continue to respond to various COVID-19 news, reopening effects on the economy, and just new stimulus package proposals that's floating around in DC. Most recently, the spotlight has been on the Fed and the Fed Chair Powell was actually in DC today, speaking with Congress, actually testifying. But in the past week, he's been very vocal in saying that there's still bullets in the chamber, and they intend to provide an unlimited amount of support to support the markets. But he was very blunt in saying that the White House and Congress need to do more to kind of help support households and businesses, to avoid further economic damage. But he also mentioned that the recovery could possibly take or stretch us through the end of 2021. So strong statement. Everybody's listening to the Fed and Fed Powell. So that's pretty much recent. So as it relates to the bond market overall, we're still seeing all-time low rates, which is, of course, the effect of the tools from the Feds and their commitment to purchasing various assets, especially mortgage-backed securities, which provides lenders with, liquidity and the ability to offer loans at a lower price. So we're still seeing low rates across the board. One of the things we're seeing in the mortgage market that everybody has their eyes on is the huge spike in forbearances provided to homeowners. There's not a lot of data out locally or statewide, but we know nationwide that number has increased to 9%, which around March, and on average, that number is typically in the sub 1% range. So that number has increased drastically. The good news is we're starting to see a slowdown in the rate of increase. So that's good news, but there's still a lot of uncertainty around the ability for homeowners to refinance, what effect that's going to have long-term on their refinancing abilities or abilities to buy a home, as well as the services' ability to handle the growing advances that's coming from the GSEs with these inflated forbearance requests. As it relates to the housing finance space, we're still seeing a lot of activities in bond sales. Over the past week, we've seen roughly 266 million in bond sales, and actually in the pipeline now there's about 353 million. So there's still a lot of activity there, but overall just a lot of uncertainty just with everything. But we're continuing to monitor the markets and just work closely with our advisors and just stay informed on the market changes and funding resources and regulatory changes there. So with that, that's the market report. I'll cover the financial status report.
Byron, let me make a comment real quick, please.
Sure.
So Wade, just to add on to what Byron mentioned about the the housing finance market, we are hearing from, and the evidence says that there are issues still coming out despite the slowdown. And we're hearing from underwriters that the activity is continuing and it's a hiccup, but the expectation is that the market will at some point start functioning as normal. But one particular stat that I encourage you to pay attention to, and the board to pay attention to, if you look at Byron's market update page under the key interest rates, the second line is, and Mr. Thomas just joined. How you doing, Mr. Thomas?
Hunter, I think you've got your mute button on. No?
He's connected to the audio. He's coming.
Okay. So wait, I'll actually stop and then you can.
Yeah, we wait for
officially
Hunter.
open the meeting, yeah. Hunter, are you there?
Hello.
There he is, okay.
All right. Sorry, my audio wasn't working.
No problem. Thanks for joining. Wade's about to officially open the meeting.
All right.
On you, Wade.
What? I'm sorry.
We're good to go. We can do roll call now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So is somebody gonna call it out or?
Well, you
Yeah.
you have to call it to order and then we can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Getting used to these slightly new differences. Okay, so yeah, so now that Sir Thomas is here, we've got a quorum, 2 out of 3 of the committee members. So the meeting is formally called to order, and I guess we could call a formal roll call, please.
Chair G. Wade Wooten,
Here.
Mr. Charles Brown, Mr. Hunter Thomas.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Okay, so then just to recap, we have been just discussing informally a financial management report. Have not taken any actions since we lacked a quorum, but now that we have a quorum, I guess I don't see any old business items listed on the agenda. Unless you have anything to offer, I was gonna move forward.
No old business and we don't have any action items this month.
Okay. And the next item is there's an opportunity for public comment. How would that actually work? Just out of curiosity. I mean, obviously we were physically meeting, they would be in the room and could, I guess, ask. I'm just
So-
curious.
Elizabeth Townsend is managing that process for us. Elizabeth, please explain to the board and to the public how the rules for making a comment and how everyone can provide comments to the board during meetings.
Hi, we'll be accepting public comments or questions via email throughout the meeting. And so those are preferred. And it's posted on the public agenda, which is on the city's website, and also given to our public email list.
Yeah, and I see at the bottom of page 1, it has the email address. Okay, great.
And what's the email address, Elizabeth, just so the public can know it?
It's etownsend@financeauthority.org.
Okay, thank you.
So Damon, if you didn't have any other issues, I guess we can roll back to discussing a little more detailed the financial management report.
Yeah, well, I was just providing some comments to Byron's comments about the market. And Hunter, Byron talked a lot about the volatility in today's market. and that there's still activity in the housing industry, in the housing space, so that's positive. But all in all, there's still a lot of uncertainty, and we're going to have to do a lot of work to figure out precisely where we're going to land or where the market's going to land. But in the meantime, we're trying to do as much as we can to provide credible programming. But one particular metric to keep in mind as we move forward and as we try to understand the market story is if you look at, again, Mr. Badger's report, the market update report, and at the bottom, he has a list of key interest rates.
Right.
Well, the second row, it lists the 10-year MMD over the US Treasury. And the MMD is the tax exempt or the municipal benchmark. It's where all the governments, the rate that the governments borrow at. And the US Treasury is obviously the risk-free rate or the rate that the US government borrows at. So historically, today that ratio is 169%, as you can see on the sheet. And then you can also see that the 10-year high is 354%. And that 10-year low is 71%.
Okay.
And so what that means is this ratio compares the cost of tax exempt funding versus taxable funding. And tax exempt is represented by the municipal side of the equation. The taxable is represented by the Treasury side of the equation. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because historically, Wade, you know, when the Finance Authority was very active with issuing bonds, this ratio would hover around 65 to 70%.
Right.
And the reason being is that tax exempt funding is generally discounted from taxable funding or it's a lower cost of capital. So when this ratio is over 70%, especially over 100%, it just simply means that tax exempt financing is less effective.
Right.
But the fact that rates are low, interest rates are low, it's a bit of an anomaly. And there's still activity going on, as Byron pointed out. But I'm just bringing that up because as we start looking at issuing bonds, you know, a lot of information is going to come to us. But I think this is one particular ratio that you as board members can look at and just at any time try to understand where Finance New Orleans fits into the overall market. So again, if that number is above 100, it just means that our financing is less competitive. So
Right.
we really want that number to go lower. It was getting low for a while, but you know, ever since the financial crisis, the historical averages between the tax exempt market and the taxable market have just been off. So in normal times, Wade, or what used to be normal, again, this ratio was much lower, and it would allow Fano to get into the market with a cheaper mortgage product than the commercial banks could. And that applies to housing, to business financing, no matter what type of financing we do. So
Is it dependent on the
Byron, you have anything to add to that market comment, that market?
Yeah, no, and I think there's like Damon mentioned, is ideally there's a big disconnect. Normally you'll see a relationship between the Treasury and the muni rates, but there's a disconnect, and a lot of that is just contributed to the market effects, the supply and demand, as well as the Fed stepping in and kind of stepping on rates with the purchases. But as Damon mentioned, ideally, looking at that ratio determines the value, whether it's rich or cheap to get into the market.
Just a comment. I mean, I guess it's consistent of what strategic of what we've been trying to do the past 2 years, Damon, since you've come on board and led the organization in that, trying to diversify our service offerings. Because historically, this is all we did. So
Yeah.
At least some of your efforts now can offset the situation.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We're developing more programs, multifamily. We're doing green financing on the commercial side and the infrastructure side as well. But the common denominator across all of those programs is that our tax exempt financing is a competitive advantage for developers, for homeowners, for the businesses. So we'll be diversifying the types of financing that we provide, but we're still very much so dependent upon that relationship between the tax exempt and the taxable market in order to provide competitive products. So there are other ways for us to provide products like the pilots. You know, those aren't dependent upon tax exempt financing, and there's some other ideas that we're developing right now as well. Truly diversify ourselves, but our chief competitive advantage is the fact that we can offer the community below market financing. But when the market, when the regular market is below market, it's hard to go even lower. And that's just the situation that we're in today. And we've actually been in that situation for going on 13 years now, 13 plus years, ever since 2007, 2008. So it's something that we're working on weekly. Byron's having a team with multiple market experts and market discussions, and we're doing some modeling. So we're preparing ourselves to deal with this type of market environment and create products that win or are competitive regardless of what's going on in the marketplace. But this has definitely been a challenge for us, and I thought it was worth pointing out so you understand what has been preventing us from offering competitive financing in the marketplace.
I appreciate the breakdown.
You're welcome.
Are there any other items for discussion with regard to the management, the financial management report, either the market or the financial status report?
Not for myself.
Damien, before moving on, it just dawned on me, do we need to, it's not on the agenda, do we need to, I guess, approve the February 18 Finance and Investment Committee meeting minutes?
Actually, yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have minutes from our last meeting. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Let me just take a look at it, please. Okay. So Hunter, if you would make a, I guess, a motion perhaps to I guess approve.
No problem. Motion to approve the, what is it?
February 18th.
The February 18th minutes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll second Mr. Thomas's motion to approve the Finance and Investment Committee meeting minutes from February 18th, 2020. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Passes unanimously. Okay, great. Is
Our
there?
question, has Mr. Brown been okay in all of this? Not to get off topic.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, Hunter. I spoke to Mr. Brown a few weeks ago. At that point, he was doing okay. I know he wasn't able to make it today, but last I spoke to him, he was doing fine. He was just trying to stay safe, like everybody else, and
Right.
you know, trying to get adjusted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good news. Is there a need to go into executive session, Damon?
No, there's no need to go to an executive session, but Byron still has his
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped.
financial management.
Yeah.
I apologize. I thought we
No.
finished that piece.
No worries, no worries. So I'll cover the financial status report as of March. So if you look at the first page, this provides a comprehensive snapshot of our actual year-to-date versus the budget year-to-date revenues and expenses as of March 2020. Actual revenues were 35,000 to a budget of 52,000. And if you look at actual expenses, they were favorable to budget, coming in at 337,000, which is about 136,000 less than budget. Moving on to page 2, this provides kind of the detailed breakdown of the revenue components. You'll see there's a downward variance to budget, which is driven by the multifamily income line, which we we're working diligently to get that launched and approved. It's going for approval of the CEA this week, Thursday, I believe, right, Damon? So that that'll be launching. We should see as we get that approved and get that program rolling, we'll see revenue generating in that line item. Moving on to page 3. This page 3 provides a breakdown of the expense side year to date, mainly favorable in all categories, with the exception of the software and subscription line, but favorable, driven by salaries and benefits, given we have some open positions there, as well as the marketing and advertisement line, which we're prudently deploying resources there. And I just want to point out, you wasn't on in a meeting last month, Wade, but there was a question that came up in terms of the amount of expenses related to the name change and logo change. And so there's a footnote on page 1. The estimate that we're seeing with those expenses is roughly $20,000. At this point, we've spent about $10,000 related to that. And I believe of that 10, 4,000 was related to just the design and the layout. And then 6,000 was related to just updating our style guide, our stationery, as well as our webpage logos or whatnot. But at this point, 10,000 approximately has been estimated. Overall, we're kind of forecasting 20,000. All right, going back to, if you look at page 4, this provides a summary of the pathway funds year to date. You'll see the revenue is 30,000, roughly 30,000, 29,000. On the revenue side, on the expense side is 15,000. Page 5 just provides kind of a detailed look at the revenue and expenses by month. Jumping to page 6, this provides kind of a look at our balance sheet year over year. And it pretty much remains stable given the minimal activity. And then looking at page 7, this provides a look at our cash and cash equivalents. Currently, as of March of 2020, we're at 11.5. Previous month in February, we're at roughly in the 11.5 range. So we're pretty stable in terms of our cash position. So that concludes my review of the financial status report.
To add to Byron's report, thank you, Byron. To add to that report, you mentioned the CEA with the Louisiana Housing Corporation and the City of New Orleans. So if you recall, we received approval. There are 2 CEAs. We received approval on the CEA with the city back in February. And now that we're partly through some of the disruption, City Council has restarted their agenda. So the CEA with the Louisiana Housing Corporation, which also includes the City of New Orleans, will be approved this Thursday at the City Council meeting. And that's a great milestone for us as an organization because it allows us to officially begin to underwrite bond projects as well as pilots. And as we underwrite them, we can approve them and begin to fund those projects. So all of the pipeline development that we've done, the agreements that we've developed that will allow us to participate, and we can develop a system of housing that ranges from the city to the agency level all the way up to the state. That's what these CEAs allow us to do. And it also allows Finance New Orleans to begin generating revenue through bond issues as well as pilots. And we can begin to develop that internal wealth so that we can continue to reinvest in the community and that we can develop more programs. So Thursday marks a starting point for us. So once we get that approval, we're developing a marketing calendar and a launch schedule for the developer program as well as the home buyer program. So we're moving into program execution mode now. Planning is coming to an end, and the pieces that we need to be the glue, so to speak, for these new programs. That's what we've been doing with these CEAs. So next week, we'll start formulating our plans to officially underwrite projects, and you as a board will start to see projects on the agenda for your approval.
Exciting stuff.
So thank you. So thank you to the board again for your vision and thoughtfulness on allowing us the flexibility to develop these types of relationships. So it's a start. We don't have any revenue yet. We haven't gotten any points on the board just yet, but we're in the game now. So we can start utilizing our balance sheet and our resources to drive more investment in the city.
And let me ask you this. Where you getting your hair cut from, bro?
Well, the barbershops are open now, so this is a legal haircut. Yeah, so I'm just trying to support the local economy. All these barbershops are back open, so travel safely, but they need our help.
Absolutely.
I'm a little offended you didn't ask me where I get my hair cut.
Man, look, Wade, I was going to ask you first because you're so fresh, man, but I didn't want to put you out there like that.
I like to think I'm aerodynamic.
We all look quarantine clean. We're looking good.
Yeah, man. Wade looking like he should be on the Last Dance documentary, man. Standing next to Jordan, man.
Right.
Too much.
So yeah, that's where we are. So we're ready to push forward as a group. Byron is developing, along with his team, they're developing the financial infrastructure so that we can handle these new programs. So everything from us having a sophisticated forecasting model to just keeping in close contact with our market advisors so that we're informed and you're informed at all times as to how we need to manage our resources, particularly from a financial perspective. So we're doing all that we can to just put you in a better position to make decisions, because we're going to see a lot of projects. Not all of these projects are going to require an investment of our resources, but a great many of them will. And so as we start to use our balance sheet to support these projects, it's going to be important that we provide the board with enough information ahead of time, and that staff do the proper due diligence. So we're laying the groundwork for that to happen, and you'll start to see projects on the agenda over the next few months.
Cool.
Is that, I don't see there are any other agenda items. I could be missing something though.
No,
Damon?
that's it.
Okay,
That's it. We had a short agenda.
okay. Damon, let me ask you, I guess before we end the meeting, should we just hang up and call back in, or is it the same call in or what?
Now hang up and dial back in at 4.
Okay, we'll do.
I believe
Okay.
Elizabeth, or to me, it's the same information, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
Okay. So yeah,
Okay.
just dial back in at 4, and again, we don't have any action items on the board agenda.
Okay,
So we'll just recap the committee meetings, and we should be brief.
okay, great. Well, that said, then the committee meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. See y'all later.
All right, thank you.